Hey everyone, Michael Anthony here. Van Halen, Chickenfoot, Sammy in the Circle. But anyway, you're listening to the only podcast that is dedicated to breaking down the entire Van Halen catalog one track at a time. And the podcast will rock. Ow!
Hello, baby!
Welcome, one and all in one, all you rockers, rockettes, and everything in between. All inclusive here at And the Podcast Will Rock. That's right. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are coming down to the wire. I feel like I've said that many times in many intros thus far in the show. But look, once we got down to the final 10 tracks of the Van Halen catalog, I mean, that to me is the final wire. And guess what? Now we're down to three. Three left in the entire catalog. That is how long we have been doing this journey, and that is where the journey is taking us. So we will be taking one off the wheel today. Hi, hello, welcome back. If it's your first time just stumbling across this podcast, you have so much homework to do, lots to catch up on. But we do have new listeners from time to time. Let us know that they just found us, so it's all good. But just in case you are new, I am your co-host, Mark Kamira. With me, as always, Corey Morissette, and we are the show that dives into the catalog and discography of one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, the mighty Van Halen, one track at a time. Corey, can you believe we've made it to the final three?
I tell you, we've been doing so many live shows and special shows. It seems like forever since it's just been you and I just you know, spinning the wheel and doing a song. So we are trying to space things out a little bit. We don't want the journey to end quite yet, so that's why we're throwing some other stuff in there. And just the sheer fact that we've started ranking the albums live on Friday nights, we're just coming to the end of it because we're finishing off albums left and right here. We're doing Van Halen 3 coming up next Friday. So if you're listening to this on Friday, a week from today, we'll be ranking Van Halen 3. I asked Chris L from Pot of Thunder, because he had mentioned he would maybe come on that show. And I'm like, did you really want to come on the Van Halen 3 show? You're going to rank the album? He said, man, I'll try. He can't get through the record. He said, I've tried a couple of times. I get like 2 or 3 songs in, and I bail on it. So I don't know if Chris will be here, but we're going to have the boys from Regarding Van Halen 3 on the show to help us break that one down. And all of our great patrons as well, like Jeff Brewer, Tara Armbruster, Josh, who's currently in the chat here tonight. Welcome, gentlemen. We've had a couple of new patrons sign on this week, so welcome to you both. Thank you for your support. I know we're coming to the end of the Van Halen journey, but then that'll begin the solo round that we're going to be doing. Dave, Sammy, Chickenfoot, Extreme, Mammoth, everything, you name it, we'll be putting it on a wheel and we'll be fucking talking about it. So still plenty of good stuff to come.
Likely so, yeah. But I tell you, it's a good thing that we're going to have the Regarding Van Halen 3 guys on the show with us to balance out the let's say shed some positive light in an otherwise negatively regarded album, at least in our journey for sure. So maybe it's a good thing, because it can't just be Corey and I just saying, okay, well, which one of these songs sucks the least? That wouldn't be very fun. So that'll be good. But I really do hope Chris L manages to make it through that album, at least for the first time, so that he can join us to rank it, because I don't know. That just sounds like gold podcasting to me, whatever happens, with all that. So that being said, what do you say we get this thing started? Tell me, Corey, via the Van Halen news desk, is there anything Van Halen newsworthy happening right now, other than the fact that we know Sammy and Mikey are on tour bringing some familiar sounds of Van Halen to the masses?
That's right. They've been in rehearsals for the Best of All Worlds tour. They're going to do another round of rehearsals before they actually kick off the tour in July. So we'll have more news on that as it happens. We missed a ton of stuff doing live shows and everything. We'll try and get caught up real quick. Going to the Van Halen news desk. That's right. www.vhnd.com. The only place to get your Van Halen news. They got a great little article on Eddie Van Halen and Leslie West, and some video of them jamming together, and a great interview with the late Leslie West talking about his good friend Eddie Van Halen. You'll want to check that out. And then Dave put out another cover just out of nowhere, as he is prone to do. This one has even less information than normal. We don't know who played on it. We don't know when he recorded it. And we don't know why. And we don't know why he changed the name, too, because this song is normally titled 8675309/Jenny. Dave, he put some harmonic on it. He changed it to Jenny, that telephone song. So he changed the name, even though it's an incredibly faithful cover. Did you want to hear a little bit of it, Mark?
I mean, if you got it queued up, sure.
Well, we'll just listen to a little.
Yeah, let me hear him do Tommy Two-Tone.
You know what? It's actually not bad. I kind of dig it. But the video needs some explanation because it's just weird fucking mannequin heads for the whole song. But let's check it out.
Jenny, who can I turn to?
So you see what I mean when I say it's a pretty faithful cover? Normally when Dave does a cover, he kind of, Daves it up a little bit. This is pretty much just straight down the middle Tommy Two-Tone.
It's a very strange, like the audio sounds kind of funny. Like the recording of it isn't like mixed or mastered, but it sounds odd to me.
Well, we'll check out the chorus here, see what you think.
I need to make you mine. Jenny, don't change your number. 8675309. 8675309. 8675309.
So I kind of dug it, actually. I don't mind it. Dave's, Tom put it on the chat. Dave's actually singing. Yeah, that's kind of a nice change of pace. Yeah. It's kind of right in his wheelhouse. I thought he did a pretty decent job of it.
Yeah, I guess so. But as you say, I was a bit distracted by the weird mannequin head video that accompanied it, and like the quality of the recording. But yeah, I guess say what you will, and if we had any doubts whether Dave could actually still sing or not, I guess he can, unless just he has a wizard producer that is able to get his voice where it needs to go via a lot of crunching of some numbers and what have you. But no, that wasn't terrible.
Will it be on an album someday? We don't fucking know. Dave doesn't he just puts shit out whatever he wants to. So this is one of his better efforts, I thought. So good on him. Scott Monroe says, weird choice to have Tool direct the video, though. And yeah, I would agree with that. Holy cow. I was watching it on my phone, and my wife walks by, and that one mannequin with the pink paint on it and the eyeballs bulging goes, what the fuck are you watching? It's a David Lee Roth video.
It's just like David being Dave, I guess.
Dave being Dave, yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. This one's kind of timely because we're doing our Van Halen live ranking show next Friday. Mike Post. Again, I think it's just kind of a recap of his other interview, just saying Van Halen 3, it's nobody's fault. He's certainly not taking any fault for it. He just says, it's not a great album. No one's really to blame. Eddie wanted to try something. It didn't really work. And let's move on with life.
I hear it. Yeah, well, because I have to imagine he's sick of the conversation. It's if I'm him, and I don't want that to be my legacy.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be my claim to fame or anything. So I imagine that's probably what most people ask him about. So I get his dismissiveness. Like, can we just, for the final time, it's like, it's not that it's no one's fault. Don't ask me. It was like, what was Eddie thinking? Don't ask me, what was I thinking? But can we just end this and just say it happened? It's done. Let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Alex didn't even play on it. We're just moving on with life. Jeff pointed out that on the Tommy Two-Tone cover, Dave's doubling his vocals. He doesn't like his doubled vocals. He sounds better when a better singer backs him up. Which, sure.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Scott Monroe. Remember also what Darren Paltrowitz told us. Dave records these and holds onto them for years and randomly releases them in the future. So who knows when he did this?
That's exactly that's a very, very good point. Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up, because this very well could have been, maybe that explains why it sounds the way it sounds. Maybe he recorded this years ago and rediscovered it. Like, oh, hey, actually, that didn't sound so bad. I'm going to post it. And I don't know, give it a cool, funny little video Like, I guess if you think that's cool and funny.
I like it better than him just dancing around. He likes posting
That
those
is true.
videos too, just grinning like an idiot. Doing
Give
an
me
old
the
man
weird
dance.
off-brand like 10-cent version Tool video, as opposed to you just like dancing like an idiot.
And back to Van Halen 3, Scott Monroe points out, spoiler alert, it is partly Mike Post's fault. Yes, everybody has to share a little blame on that one. So he could have stood up and said, Eddie, maybe don't. But no.
Tune into Regarding Van Halen 3 for more on that.
That's right. Great a little interview here with Michael Anthony on hearing Dave Lee Roth eat 'em and smile. And the quote is Dave trying to kick our ass, because you look at the band that Dave put together, and Eat 'em and Smile is a pretty kick-ass record. So Mikey was kind of like, is he trying to kick our ass? And yeah, probably.
Of course. Like it is so obvious, and we're lucky, Corey. We did recently. We joined Sean and Todd, our friends from the Sean Geek Fast Fred podcast, and did a side by side of 5150 versus Eat 'em and Smile, and it was amazing how similar those. If you guys don't know, or if you don't recall, Eat 'em and Smile, it's amazing how similar some of those tracks sound to Dave era Van Halen.
Well, there's a couple of those 5150 tracks that Dave had actually worked on too, like Good Enough was a track that he had kind of worked on. So I really like Eat 'em and Smile. For me, what we did on the Sean Geek show is we lined them up track by track. So the opening track of Eat 'em versus the opening track of 5150 and all the way down. And on my rankings, 5150 won kind of handily. But I think if you just go like best tracks, I think a couple more of the Dave Lee Roth Eat 'em and Smile tracks would beat the 5150s. It would have been a closer vote for me had we not gone 1 for 1, 2 for 2. But I think 5150 still probably would have won for me.
For sure, definitely won mine.
Yeah.
But that's not to say Eat 'em and Smile was awful, because it's not. It kicks ass.
All right. Well, one big piece of news for all of us Van Halen fans, and that's A Different Kind of Truth just magically showed up on streaming platforms again last week. All of a sudden, it was like, holy shit! Like Apple Music got it right away. YouTube Music got it right away, and then Spotify users, I think, got it this week. But we're kind of speculating on our Diver Down live show. Like, is Dave just sick of the bad press? And everybody kind of blamed him for the fact that A Different Kind of Truth was not on streaming services. Although there was some in the inclination it could have been Alex as well. But they put their differences with that record aside and allowed it back on streaming platforms. So you can go check out the deluxe edition of A Different Kind of Truth wherever you stream your music.
Yeah. So that was a nice surprise, because it was getting to be frustrating with our people, our audience, on why that wasn't around. So there you go. Eat it up, you guys.
Yep. And then finally, we have a great interview here Eric Senich did with Martin Popoff. And the banner headline is Van Halen tops list of missed live album opportunities. And you got to think of all the acts out there that have never released a live album or a live album from a certain era. Van Halen's got to top that list, because any of the Dave era, the early Dave era tours would have been fantastic on a live record. Like pick one from the Diver Down tour, the Women and Children tour, Fair Warning. Of course, the 1984 tour was fucking massive.
For sure.
Just grab a good soundboard recording off of any of those shows, and that's going to sell like hotcakes. It's going to be one of the biggest live albums of all time. So that's a tremendous missed opportunity for Warner Brothers. They even speculated, like, okay, if you wanted one last kick of the can with David Lee Roth, of course he's leaving in 1985, release an 84 concert live album before the Van Hagar era starts and before Eat 'em and Smile comes out, like for Warner Brothers. I can't believe 1984 was their biggest album at that point, right? That would have been a huge moneymaker.
Somebody wasn't doing their job correctly over at Warner Brothers.
Well, I know Aerosmith, when they were leaving Geffen, they wanted to get out one more live record before that contract was up, so they put out A Little South of Sanity, which I think sold pretty well for them before Aerosmith went back to Columbia. So they were smart. They knew, okay, we got one of the biggest bands in the world coming off a pretty big tour. Let's throw together a live record with all their Geffen stuff, and I think it sold pretty well.
I think so. So, well, hindsight's 2020, of course, but still,
I still kind of hold out hope someday we might get a 1984 live recording or something.
That would be awesome.
Yep. And you know what? While we're here, give us Live Without a Net on 4K Blu-ray, on vinyl, on streaming, on high definition, whatever. We need that. Yeah, full show. All right, that's it for the Van Halen news, Mark. We got some polls to talk about, don't we?
We do have some polls. We've got quite a few polls to talk about. Now, because we haven't done this show in quite some time, just like our regular show, the last song I believe we covered in the regular iteration is Amsterdam.
It
And
is, yes.
Amsterdam's been a while. So, but it finished off with a 79.8% What Dreams Are Made Of versus a 20.2% The Dream Is Over. I didn't expect Amsterdam to reach like the heights of What Dreams Are Made Of. I wasn't expecting this to reach 90% of the votes in any form or fashion. 79.8 though, like, I mean, that's right at 80 if you round up, but it just, I don't know. I like Amsterdam. It was a fun track. I was kind of hoping that, in spite of the fact that it's a Sammy era tune off of Balance, and I know like some of y'all have your hangups with Balance, and that's fine. I don't know. I just thought our enthusiasm might have boosted the voting a little bit, but alas, are you surprised at all by that result?
I was kind of hoping for 80s. Like 80s is kind of what you kind of hope for with a Sammy tune. But 79.8, just below that. It's just below Out of Love Again, below Judgment Day. But it's ahead of You and Your Blues, From a Different Kind of Truth, A Pretty Woman, Humans Being. It finished higher than. I know Humans Being, I think we both think deserves a better fate than what's getting.
Oh, I agree.
It's ahead of The Dream Is Over. It's ahead of Dreams from 5150. So it is beating some pretty big heavy hitters there, at least for my taste in Van Halen. Number 72, I mean, yeah, Amsterdam is sitting
at. Not a disrespectful position, but I don't know. I was kind of just hoping that maybe it would surprise us. So I'll go into some of the tweets real quick from our patrons, starting with our friend Sean McGinnity from the Sean Geek and Fast Fret podcast. He says, was not a fan of Balance originally, but Corey's come around. That's a Plentywood term. Look it up. Your come around on it brought him along as well. He loves the intricacies Alex brings to the table, and damn does Ed cook. Just another fine example of how great Balance is. So we know Sean loves Balance, and you swayed him there, Corey. He wasn't into it, but nice. And see that right there. That's what I'm talking about. It was our enthusiasm that I was hoping we're going to sway people and thinking, you know what, maybe it's not so bad. So while maybe it didn't work overall, but it did work individually, it seems, and you changed Sean's mind, so kudos.
Happy to do so. I'm a big fan of Amsterdam, and Jeff Brewer in the chat says Amsterdam should have been higher despite the wham bam crap. Easily my favorite song on the album. I won't go that far, but I'm a pretty big fan of it.
Well, you also there seems to be a magic with your analysis of listening to Amsterdam and how you put it out there, because Rava Flav says, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this the song that Corey had me believing that I wouldn't like? I dig it. So he's, and I don't know. I don't know if you ever said that. I can't confirm if that's recorded that you said Rava Flav would not like Amsterdam, or like some people.
No, but I think he got confused with Up for Breakfast. I think that may have been the one I told him. Yeah, because I tell pretty much everybody you're probably not going to like this song, but I don't remember saying that about Amsterdam, because I was always a fan of that one.
Yeah. So, I was going to say it seems a bit out of character, but nevertheless, Rava Flav was into it. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign. Jeff Brewer says, "Oops, I forgot to vote. It should have been 81% What Dreams Are Made Of." Well, it should have, but it wasn't. He says, the music is outstanding, but the lyrical theme, while not Van Halen's worst, does not rise to the level of the music. The wham bam part of the chorus is one of Sam's weakest efforts, but there's no way to prevent this song's upvote. So while I don't agree with his assessment of the wham bam, I'm a big fan of the wham bam. I love it. Jeff still could not downvote it because, it's a fun tune.
Well, he forgot to vote. Like I said, if he would have put that... If you would have put that at 81, that would have brought it up to almost 7 spots it would have shot up. So
something like that. Yeah. So, well, Jeff, we appreciate the enthusiasm. However, in terms of the ranking. You have brought it. It is at 79% because of you. Nah, not just because of you. But you know what I'm getting at. All right. Yeah, there's Rava Flav correcting their mistake. And going on over to the Discord. That is it for the tweets. We had a bunch of tweets on Amsterdam, but if you want it guaranteed read on the show, guess what, guys? Go to the Patreon, become a patron of ours. Join whichever tier. You get your tweets read on the show, guaranteed. You'll even get a link to the Discord where you can just keep the conversation going with everybody, and including go to the Minifesto channel and give your full thoughts, like Scott Monroe here. Hot damn Amsterdam is what dreams are made of. It's not my top track on balance, but I think it best captures the album's peak tone in a similar way that Runaround does for me on For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Yeah, I could see that. Eddie Van Halen's playing, especially in the verses and solo, is aggressive, exotic, and jam-packed with dissonant flourishes, reminiscent of Panama in terms of personality and vibe. The separation with Al's drumming, Ed's guitar, Mikey's bass is very clean, and Al is so strong in the pocket throughout the amazing solo. I have no issues with Sammy's lyrics. He paints a perfectly coherent picture about getting fucked up, which is tried and true Van Halen. And we get a classic chorus elevated with silky smooth Mikey harmonies. Yes. Also, Wham Bam Amsterdam is definitely something you would think of when you're hit with the full force of getting high. Not that such a thing has ever happened to me, right? When we enter the bowling alley. Anyway, Sammy has fully committed to the theme, and good for him. Ultimately, this is a Sammy era party rock that lights it up in the best possible way. Hashtag Wham Bam, what dreams are made of.
Love it.
And what bowling alley are you going to getting high, man? Because they didn't let us do that at our bowling alleys.
I like Kevin's comment underneath, and a new improved hashtag is born.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Our friend Chad, he's got a lot to say about Amsterdam, and he says, Amsterdam, I upvoted the song, though I'm critical of it. I tend to be critical of things that I like, but see room for improvement. There is a lot of room for improvement in this song, much like the rest of this record. You can tell that the Sam and Ed train had run out of steam. The music is great. I mean, the riff is from the mid 80s, so how can it not be? It's peak Ed, but it isn't a new idea. It's a recycled old riff they had to use because the creative juices were done flowing between the two. And I have to give it to Sammy on the lyrics. He is trying to not write another love song, and I applaud him for that. However, when this song and album was released, straightforward in-your-face juvenile lyrics were a thing of the past and were not well received. Most of the popular rock music of that time had a more introspective vibe and more ambiguous lyrics that weren't straight in your face. So when you get Wham Bam Amsterdam, it just felt so uncreative. We get it. You like weed and pussy. Can't you find a more creative way to say it? It's what dreams are made of, but certainly not one of those creative dreams you tell your friends about. I get it. And I kind of, if nothing else, I'm entertained by the way you turned a phrase with that assessment. But hey, he didn't rank it no. So that's a good one. That's a win.
Feels like a Kevin Brown T-shirt design might be coming.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
like absolutely pussy, sure. Yeah, we can maybe do some with that.
Oh yeah, looking forward to that. Tom Armbruster says 1984 ranking show. So back in the day, Entertainment Tonight had a segment about Van Halen, and a B-roll over the credits was Eddie, Alex, and Mike playing Hot for Teacher. My ex-father-in-law watching the show with me said, "What's the big deal? They're just playing 3 chords." I replied, "Maybe so, but they're pretty cool chords." I don't know why that was in the Minifesto for Amsterdam, but all right.
Because we've started the 1984 ranking show Minifestos, Mark.
Yeah, I guess we did. So, all right. Well, then I guess that's it for Amsterdam because I don't see anything more. But that does throw it over to now. I'm not going to read all of the tweets and comments on these because we've already done them. But I am going to take a look back at one. If you guys are following us on X or Twitter, whatever it's called, we put up the polls every week after we do a song from the wheel. But you'll notice here this past week, a lot of songs have been reposted in the polls asking you what you really would vote for this song, because frankly, and if you heard our show about it, there are some tracks on the catalog that we have discussed and that have been voted, and you guys just, well, frankly, the voting wasn't up to par with some of these songs, so we did a re-vote, as it were. And the poll is closed now on the first revote going towards, and it's the reason this whole thing exists, Panama.
First of all,
voted Panama.
First of all, I want to say we got a lot of great comments on that show, Mark. People really seemed to enjoy it. Yeah, a lot of people reached out and said, hey, we really like that show. And it was a show we just kind of pulled out of our ass because I just said, hey, Panama needs to be a lot higher than it is. And you agreed. And now I'm proud to report it has jumped up 13 spots. Panama now sits at number 16. 92.7% What Dreams Are Made Of. 7.3% The Dream Is Over. So you know what? I still say it should be top 10, but I can live with that. It's now ahead of Jamie's Crying, I'm the One, On Fire, Top Jimmy, Ain't Talking About Love, Dance the Night Away. It's beaten some pretty big heavy hitters there. It's still below Woman in Love, which I don't know if I agree with. But everything else above that is really pretty strong.
But
I can't really say
it's still not in the top 10, though.
It's not, it's top 20. It's top 20.
Top 20, but come on, guys, it's Panama. Well, never mind.
I tell you what,
it's done. Like
I said, you put up what, like 4 or 5? Do we have any more that are going to be coming up the next week, Mark? I know we talked about a couple other tracks that might need a couple more.
At tomorrow, there's a couple of ones that will be done by tomorrow. So.
Yeah, I know.
11 hours. You have 11 hours left to vote on what your real vote is on Seventh Seal. And you get a full 24 hours left on what you're really feeling on 5150, the song. That's the one I'm curious about, really. I mean, I was curious about Panama, but I kind of assumed it was gonna be in a certain area. I was hoping it would make top 10, but it didn't. So now I'm really curious to see where 5150 goes.
Yeah, that one's poised to make a big jump. Both of those polls will be closed by the time this show drops. Which is too bad because Seventh Seal needed some help. That's actually trending a little bit below where it was originally. I think it's 0.2% below where its original ranking was.
Maybe I'll repost the tweet just to kind of get some people to vote on it if they haven't yet. So I don't know. We'll figure something out there.
Jeff Brewer
Seventh Seal deserved to be higher.
Yes. Well, I agree with that. But Jeff Brewer says Woman in Love has no business beating Panama. Exactly my point.
I agree.
Yeah. But we do have some bigger songs coming up that are going to get revotes. So check out our Twitter page. I'm never calling it X. Go check out the Twitter.
Right. It just sounds
page.
Weird.
Yeah. and check the revotes because, yeah, like I said, so far Panama got a little justice served there on that one. And 5150, I think, is poised to make a big jump. That's right now in the 90s. So that is poised to become the highest-ranking Sammy track on our rankings. Right now, that's Summer Nights at 90.8, and I think 5150 is around like 93, wasn't it, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, looking good for 5150. Looking really good for Up for Breakfast. It is way ahead of where it usually is. Right now, it's at a whopping 35.9% What Dreams Are Made Of, as opposed to the 19 it finished with in the original poll. So I think it was Chaz that wanted the upvote or the revote on Up for Breakfast. So there you go, Chaz. It's going up the rankings. And we should say a very happy belated birthday to our one and only Chaz Charles, the king of the shitty podcast universe. He listens to all the bad stuff, so we don't have to. God bless him. He listened to Lulu. He listened to the fucking Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon Redux for whatever fucking reason they put that out. It wasn't Pink Floyd. It was Roger Waters. But and now,
Waters.
And now that we take on Van Halen 3, which is by far the best thing they've covered on that show. So good on them.
That's very telling. If Van Halen 3 is going to be the best thing they cover, it's like, oh boy, that's just to let you know. But again, it's very much worth checking out. So do that and wish a happy belated birthday to Chaz Mataz.
That's right.
Not the Chazitar though. We don't like the Chazitar.
It showed up on Friday though. Did you notice that? Diver down all of a sudden.
I noticed it. Yeah, yeah, I noticed. He couldn't let us have one day where it didn't show up.
That show kind of went off the rails a couple different times. Poor Kevin Brown took a beating on that show. And it wasn't even
Yes,
from
he
me.
did.
I only said like one goofy thing about Kevin. Everybody else was piling on him. Like, holy cow.
There were, I mean, like, you didn't go overly into Kevin no more than usual, but yeah, it was everyone, it was everyone else, only because you kept reading his reasoning behind his rankings out loud, and several people very much disagreed with it. So, but he took it like a champ because Kevin Brown is a champion.
That's what Kevin Brown does.
You see what I did there? Listen to the Seaside Pod review, you guys. Anyway, I think it's time to go to the wheel, but not spin it just yet, because even though there's only 3 songs, we still got to do one thing, and you know what that is. Say it with me. Manifestations. That is right. That is going to be so much easier to do.
Because there's only 3 songs.
There's only 3 songs. And I mean, and these are not the final 3 I thought we would end up with, and it's not that it's not interesting. It is interesting. It's just I don't know. It's like it's almost non-poetic, but maybe we can find a way to get some poetry out of it. I don't know, but I'm gonna throw it to you first there, Corey, before I go over to our patrons over at Discord. What, pray tell, of this triumvirate do you want to manifest for the show tonight?
All right. Well, there's a little method to my madness. First of all, I think we got one fairly classic song on the wheel. That's Atomic Punk from the debut record. I also want to do the debut record last when we do our live ranking show. So I'm not hoping for Atomic Punk at all, even though that's probably the best of the 3. I'm not tipping my hand or anything, but if I'm thinking about, because whatever we spin tonight, we're going to finish off that album, and that's going to be the next live show after Van Halen 3. So I'm looking at a different kind of truth. I'm looking at balance, and I'm thinking it'd be kind of cool to do a Dave, a Sammy, and a Dave to finish things off. So I say tonight, I want to spin The Trouble with Never from a different kind of truth. We're celebrating the fact that it's back on streaming. I could actually play those songs from YouTube Music and not like, load up the CD in my hard drive like I had to before to play a song off a different kind of truth. So give us some 2012. Give me the different kind of truth. The Trouble with Never. That's what I'm hoping for.
It indeed is a trouble. Just, I think the trouble is, it's why else would we manifest anything else? I mean, it would. I just talked about bringing the poetry back to it, and I feel like it would be kind of poetic if we ended up with the last track being from Van Halen 1, considering that's the album that starts everyone on the journey. That's, I mean, it started us on the journey because the first one that we covered was Running with the Devil. So it just, that, I guess that to me would be like semi-poetic. It would be hilarious to me though if we ended on a Sammy track. Just, it would make me laugh. But I am going to agree with you, sir. I am going to manifest The Trouble with Never. So because I think it's just not so much a ripping off of the Band-Aid, like we don't. This one seems kind of out of whack with the 3 last ones. So, but maybe it's not. Maybe that's just me projecting. But yeah, I'd rather manifest that because I think it would be a much more interesting show or shows if the last 2 are head-to-head Sammy Dave, versus one another. It already is unbalanced, if you will. And we're not alone, Corey, because Scott Monroe, he's manifesting The Trouble with Never as well. And Jeff Brewer, he tried to be funny. He's like, crosstown traffic, or I mean, The Trouble with Never is what he wants. So
Tom,
not a lot of other manifests. I think, what was he saying?
Yeah, Tom says also The Trouble with Never. So I think it's pretty much unanimous that that's one we want to go through tonight. Scott Monroe actually says, mulligans until we land on Trouble. We won't tell anyone. Oh, except I just read it on the air. Damn it.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, you haven't edited yet.
Yeah, we're not live. I can cut that right out.
Yeah, exactly. So,
like whenever I compliment Kevin Brown, I just cut it right out of the show.
You just cut Kevin out of the show.
Yep.
No. I've listened to Ultimate Catalog, you guys. Don't be fooled. It's not Kevin in there. It's just Corey.
I do a good Kevin Brown impersonation.
He does. It's amazing. He'll fool you.
All right, Mark. Well, first we should prime the wheel.
We should, yes.
We got 4 patrons watching plus ourselves. Let's do this 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, Sammy's ready. Let's do this thing.
Here we go. Round, round, round,
The Trouble with Never from A Different Kind of Truth. And full disclosure, I accidentally hit the shuffle one more time before I spun the wheel. So that actually worked where I actually primed it 7 times. So that worked to our favor here tonight, though, Mark. The Trouble with Never. There you go. We're going to finish off A Different Kind of Truth.
There's another one for you, another album to mark on your calendars, you guys. So we'll finalize that later. But before we get into it, I mean, I don't really have a point of reference here because this was not an album that I spun regularly. As a matter of fact, I didn't really spin much of it at all. I knew about Tattoo, but just barely. So this was if you recall, this album was pretty fresh to me as we started this journey and started going into it. So I have nothing to report about The Trouble with Never. I have not listened to it. So what can you tell me about it without showing your hand?
Not a ton, because like I was kind of with you. This is one of the brand new cuts, if I remember correctly, off of A Different Kind of Truth. I haven't listened to this album a lot because we're doing this experiment here tonight. I kind of wanted to hear it fresh. So kind of going in with fresh ears. I remember liking it kind of the first time. I kind of just dig this record overall. I know some of our patrons really not a fan of A Different Kind of Truth. I don't share that sentiment. I actually thought it was a nice little return to form for Van Halen. Scott,
a few of you are very pro this album.
Scott says it's the most cuttable track on A Different Kind of Truth in my book, so he's not a huge fan.
Oh boy!
But
and that's Scott saying it.
Yeah,
we might be in for a wild ride with this one.
Well, I'm just happy that we could actually go to A Different Kind of Truth on YouTube Music here. Jeff Brewer says, "Spin again."
Spin again, yeah. No, we are not going to spin again. We can't. We're in the final. We're in like the final days.
That's right. All right, but if you're ready, Mark, what do you say we get right into this one?
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right. All the way back to 2012 and A Different Kind of Truth. This is The Trouble with Never.
About it, but ask yourself later when you turn on your stereo, does it return the favor? I gotta know.
All right, Mark, what do you think so far? It's got a groove to it. It's got some stank to it.
I like that opening riff. I do like the groove. I'll give you that. I was kind of expecting something not this, so I'm kind of genuinely surprised in a good way so far. How do you feel?
I dig it right off the hop. Like anything that gives me a slap in that bass, little Paul Rudd action on the bass there.
Right.
Yeah, I always dig that. I think Dave sounds cool. The guitars are fucking killer. The production on this album is really, really good. Bass, I think Wolfie's been a real standout on this record playing the bass. That was one of the big takeaways for me. I always thought, he's got his kid playing with him. His kid's pretty fucking talented though, so works for me.
How could he not be? He's a Van Halen.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I don't know. So far, so good as far as I'm concerned. Let's keep her going.
All right, yeah.
That's the trouble with never. Sure seemed like a mighty long time. That's the trouble with never. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Hello! Every Einstein's a sign. Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. Ain't no fool to see. Never even wonder. Yeah, we could come together. I will call for you. Hey, never's good for me. How's never sound to you? 1-800-tell me, baby. That's the trouble with never. Sure could be a mighty long time. That's the trouble with never.
It's been a while since we've talked about A Different Kind of Truth, like any of it. Was one of the complaints we had about this album the mix?
there was maybe a couple songs I remember mentioning the mix, but for the most part, I think this is a pretty well produced record.
Maybe it's just how I'm hearing it, but the mix, so from what I'm hearing, at least how it's being streamed right now, it doesn't sound all that strong from my end. So that's kind of hurting the song a little bit, but it does still have a really good groove. And, I don't hate what Dave is doing lyrically. I will say there's some line, like that line he just did about the 1-800 tell me babe and things like that. I feel like his energy is a lot lower than it would have been in Van Halen's heyday. And I get it. A lot of time has passed since then. And, Dave can only do so much even at this point. But yeah, it was just kind of like, I was really, it almost felt like that he was really tapping into some old school VH, except is like, well, but vocally speaking, there was some lines where he sounded a bit less energetic than he might have sounded back in the day. And I get it. It's like, well, he's also not taking, powder room breaks as frequently at this point that we assume. I mean, I assume. I actually don't really know that. So,
well, because
I wasn't in the room and I'm not a historian.
Are you sure? But,
I'm positive.
Okay. Well, keep in mind too that he's older here and his range is considerably more limited than it was back in the day, right? And this is actually co-produced by John Shanks, who is currently ruining Bon Jovi records. The last few,
boy.
Yeah, he produced those, and he's even playing on stage with them. And trust me, I follow the Bon Jovi fans in the Bon Jovi community hate John Shanks because he's like just removed all the balls from any Bon Jovi music. Richie Sambora not being there certainly helps with the no balls too. But you listen to like their last 3 records, zero balls at all. But he's used to working with vocalists with vocal issues. Dave, like listen to Live in Tokyo. Dave has a ton of voice issues at this period. And of course, John Bon Jovi had an entire atrophied vocal cord. Can't really sing at all. So he's the lack of energy. I think it's more just lack of range. He just can't. And John's like, you know what? You can't go as high as you used to. Just got to keep it right here. And lyric wise, it's pretty much cookie cutter Dave, right? It seems like it's all pickup lines. Like when was the last time you did something for the first time? Seems like a very Dave kind of pickup line, right? So
yeah, and I get it. No, I definitely believe me. I of all people know that with age comes withering, especially if you're doing something consistently like that. I just mean like because the obviousness of his range has lowered because of time and everything like that. It just makes that section sound like it has less energy because of that. Like, whereas, well, if you were able to, do some of the like old school Dave, howls and hollerings and thing like that, then that might have come across, those lines might have come across as a little bit more, I guess it would have had more of an impact for me, I guess. But yeah, that's all I'm saying.
No, totally makes sense. Yep. I agree totally. So let's keep her going.
When was the last time you did something for the first time? Level with me, baby. Talk to me.
All right. One thing I got to point out that I love is normally during a ripping Eddie guitar solo, I'm used to Alex now, like putting in some cool shit underneath, like check what I can do, little brother, and trying to outshine him a little bit. Mikey always just kind of sat in the pocket, right, and just like Ed do his thing because he's Eddie fucking Van Halen. Wolfie's kind of doing some shit there too, like he's got that Van Halen gene where he's like, oh yeah, listen to this, dad, and he's fucking killing it on the bass in that section. I love this, like the 3 of them almost kind of playing off each other. That to me is really kind of the magic of this record. It's not really what Dave's doing. It's just kind of 60% David Lee Roth. It's not Dave from 1984 or previous. It's like 60% of where he was at that time. He's still got a little bit of attitude to him, not as much. Vocally, he's not quite there. But attitude-wise, it doesn't seem like he's quite there either. But the three Van Halens on this track are fucking killing it.
That was going to be my takeaway from this. Like the cool thing for me with this solo is that it kind of really wasn't a solo. It was a trio. It was an ensemble, because Alex is doing so much right there. And because the mixing is the way it is, the drums are like right there in your face, at least for me. They're right there. So everything Alex is doing, it's all crystal clear, and just holy shit, he's just taking the set for a ride. And then, as you pointed out, Wolfie's over there going like, yeah, I got you, Dad. I got you. I'm doing some stuff. And then, Eddie is doing the most back there, but he's just like, it's so good. Even in like the kind of diminished mix that I'm hearing, I can still hear what he's doing, and something about the fact that it almost sounds like he's in some sort of like echo chamber outside the rest of them, but the echoes are still coming through. It just kind of gives it this really interesting dynamic, and this is the Van Halen boys together just jamming. That's what this feels like. So yeah, you're right. I can forgive. If I thought Dave sounded low energy in the song, is like, nah, we're just gonna chalk that up to he's an old man at this point. It's fine. You're gonna be fine. He's still doing the job. He's still singing the song like he should be singing it. So far, honestly, dude, not a ton of complaints.
No, I want to go to the chat real quick before we get to the song here. Tom was saying he dig Al's drums into the solo section. Absolutely, they're fantastic. Here's a question for you. A couple guys in the chat here. Jeff thinks Ed mixed too much wah into his playing on this album, and Josh, our resident guitar expert, says, "I love the playing. Not a huge fan of the wah. I think a more subtle phase 90 would have been my choice." What do you think as the guitar player?
That would have been I think that would have been a better choice. You're right. I'm not as bothered by all the wah, honestly. Then again, my mind could absolutely change after another listen. I'm like, you're right. But I do understand. I'm not going to argue against what you guys are saying, because that's an acquired taste of a sound. I think you can definitely overdo the wah. I never thought Eddie would be guilty of that, but if that's what you're thinking. But I agree with Josh. If he had switched the effect to something else other than the wah, it would have come across as a lot better. But I'm not bothered by it.
All right. Jeff had another great comment here. I think Dave tried a bit too hard to come up with clever quips on this album, and I do agree with that.
Maybe
because his best quip on the album is not in this song. It's from Tattoo. Mouse wife to mom shell. In the time it took to get that new tattoo, I always dug that line. That's probably my favorite Dave quip on A Different Kind of Truth. He's got a couple ones that are okay, but yeah, like I said, it's like 60% David Lee Roth. He's just not quite there on this track. All right, let's keep rocking.
This could damage your reputation, my wicked ways. But maybe I just will, since you put it that way. Delusions of eloquence. You never can say. You want to play the game. You can't quit when you get played. Mistakes make people. Isn't that what people say? Let's unplan the moment. Dance the night away. Selective amnesia is only a heartbeat away.
All right, Mark. Let's talk about that section there.
Forgive me, you guys. This is the Leonard Cohen section of the song that apparently the track needed. As far as Dave's concerned, it's like, I'm gonna do my Leonard Cohen impression. I'm like, okay, if you have to. But at the very least, though, in his defense, the accompaniment, like what the rest of the boys are doing, like underneath that, fits what he's doing. I don't know if it necessarily fits the whole vibe of the song. Maybe it does, but at least with Dave going on this little sidebar, little solo mission over here, at least what the other three are doing underneath him fits, I think.
Yeah, I can get with you out there. Like
but it is weird.
It is. It's a tad out of place, maybe. But I didn't mind it. Dave sounded cool. Some of these lines, kind of fell flat a little bit. He had to do the dance the night away callback. This could damage your reputation, my wicked, wicked ways, but maybe I just will since you put it that way. Like, oh, all right.
Like, all right, dude.
Yeah, selective amnesia. I'm going to forget maybe that section of the track.
This one. Did they ever do it live? I guess we'll find out.
We will find out later. Tom in the chat, he's throwing his vote at your knight in shining pickup truck for the best Dave line from the record. So that's a good one.
I like
too.
that line.
That's a good one, too. Jeff Friz, Ed wanted Wolf to shine. He didn't care about Mikey shining. I think that's pretty well summed up right there.
No shit. Yeah.
Mikey was there because of background vocals. Dave channeling Gene Simmons, Burn Bitch Burn era. Yeah, it kind of sounded like that. All right, let's keep going.
Simple question concerning time. Suppose you wait forever and then you change your mind. Oh no, that's the trouble with never. Sure could be a mighty long time. That's the trouble with never. When was the last time you did something for the first time? When was it? When was it? Oh, text me, baby.
So there's a 21st century David Lee Roth. Text me, baby.
It's like, it's topical. We're in 2012, you guys.
Look, I'm still hip. Text me.
We're texting. We don't call. We text.
Go to my MySpace page.
Like, okay, boomer, chill out.
All right, let's wrap this one up here. All right.
Show me.
Show me. That's the trouble with never.
That's the trouble, and that's the end of that album. That's it. We've done it. We have covered A Different Kind of Truth in its entirety, which means, as we pointed out, another live show in the works on the schedule. So, and that also means there are 2 songs left on the wheel, but we'll get into all of that later. First, let's talk about The Trouble with Never. Corey, throw it right to you, man. You've been, I recall you're pretty positive on A Different Kind of Truth, I would say, majorly speaking. So this track was I had no idea what to expect from it, but I could kind of assume that however it was going to sound, unless it was a steaming pile of just dong, then you're going to be more or less positive on it. You seem to not hate it too bad. So I guess the final question to you is The Trouble with Never what dreams are made of, or is the dream over?
I dig it. I don't think it's in the upper echelon of Van Halen tunes, but it doesn't have to be. I love the intro and the outro of this thing, just that in that funky guitar thing that go out. It almost kind of reminded me of Extreme a little bit. Get the Funk Out from Pornography, which is a song we're going to be covering eventually next season on this show. But yeah, I dug it. You know, Dave is doing Dave things. It's not upper echelon Dave things, but it's good. I'd still rather listen to A Different Kind of Truth than 90% of the music that's released nowadays. I'd certainly rather listen to it than the new Bon Jovi record, which I can't get through. It is just depressing. So yeah, different. The Trouble with Never. That gets an absolute thumbs up for me. I dug the guitar. Love that solo section. I love that Alex and Wolfie are right there with Eddie, and just adding little accents here and there that just kind of, to me, raise it above what an average Van Halen track would be. So yeah, I would definitely give this one the old thumbs up in What Dreams Are Made Of. But Mark Meyer, oh my goodness, you're always the wild card. You hate so many things that everybody loves. You love Nickelback for some reason. And you hate good bands. No. I'm thinking of Kevin Brown.
Evidence to support that,
okay.
But
maybe I got you mixed up with Kevin Brown. He loves Nickelback.
There you go.
Let's get that out there and trending. But Mark Meyer, the question is A Different Kind of Truth. The Trouble with Never. Is this what dreams are made of, or is the dream tragically over?
Actually, I know our friend Scott Monroe said this one was the easiest one to kind of write off the track. Like he sort of gave us an idea that we're probably not going to dig it, but I did dig it and you dug it. And I'll be honest, if this was the track I was introduced to for this album, if it wasn't Tattoo or any of the other ones, like I think if it was this one, I might have been way more keen to jump into it earlier on. Or I definitely would have been more keen on the rest of the journey on the album as far as this show is concerned, if that had been the introductory song to this album for me. But because I think a lot of what's going on in this song really works. I think I mentioned there's a few lines that only sounded like Dave had low energy because and that's only because of his age and because, you know, his range isn't as high as it used to be, and that's understandable. But the rest of the band is not low energy whatsoever. Like all three Van Halen boys absolutely just killing it. I mean, that solo, or that ensemble rather, was absolutely just like fantastic. I really wish I had been a fly on the wall or, you know, on the carpeted walls while they were recording it, just to see them kind of vibe, or not even recording it, just jamming it, just practicing, rehearsing it, anything like that, just together. Because this to me sounded like a Van Halen jam with strictly the Van Halen family. Like, you know, you can take or leave everything that Dave is doing in this, and I don't think what Dave is doing is bad. Let me just point that out, because I'm not a Dave hater, you guys. I'm just, anyway. I think what he's doing works for the song. Would it work even better if his range hadn't dropped? Sure, but what are you gonna do? I mean, time comes for us all. So that's all. That being said, yeah, there's way more pros over the cons to this song, and I don't know. I had a really good time listening to this. I was very surprised. So for all those reasons, the dream, that is what dreams are made of. The Trouble with Never.
I tell you, I want to go back to the chat real quick. Scott Monroe says, Dave drags it down for me, but agree the groove and melody are good. Tom points out that if you want some good Mikey bass, he throws down pretty good on Women and Children First. And yes, that's a great Mikey record. Actually, I remember pointing that out quite a few times listening to that record.
Yes.
And Jeff kind of said Trouble Never kind of gives him a Domino vibe, which I totally get, because Domino comes from my favorite Kiss record, Revenge. And Domino's a pretty good tune. And yeah, it kind of does have a domino little kick to it. So good call there, Jeff.
Another connection with Kiss, man. It's just like Van Halen can't escape it.
Nope.
Fucking Gene.
Oh, Mark Meyer, you know what that means.
I do know what that means.
It is time to play. How many times have Van Halen performed The Trouble with Never? The fact I'm playing the music at all means they've played it at least once. So it's going to come up to you. We're the only one on the call. Of course, all of our patrons in the chat can venture a guess as well. I'll stall for time a little bit here. Well, they lock in those votes. And I almost choke.
Yeah, don't choke on that.
Oh,
I have to imagine that they probably, I mean, well, maybe not probably, but if they're touring this album and this song's in there, I'm playing it every night. Matter of fact, if I really want to keep the momentum going after this album cycle tour, like I would still keep it on the set list, because I think the song rocks.
All right.
But I'm gonna say they probably didn't. But they probably. Let's see. I will be generous and I'll say they played this song at the very least 30 times.
30 times. What's this? Oh, look, it's Corey rigged the games that he always wins. I'm not even playing the game, Tom.
He's not playing.
I know the answer. Jeez. We only have one guess in the chat here so far. Scott Monroe says 3 times. So, Mark, you say 30. Scott Monroe, you say 3. All right, Mark Meyer. You did it. The correct answer is 48 times. 48 times. They played it 47 times in 2012 and 1 time in 2013.
Oh, man. I didn't lose. Buddy. It's like one of the few times I didn't lose. How about that?
And you know what? For Tom Armbruster. Rigging games. By the way, he said 10, so you still lost, Tom. Van Halen expert Mark Meyer is the winner.
Oh boy. There you go again. That's why they keep coming after me. but it's fine. Just to remind you all, it's even though we pretend we are experts, we're actually not. We don't pretend that hard.
No.
We are not experts of this band or their journey. We are simple fans. We are fans who have enjoyed our own journey rediscovering the band, and it has been a rediscovery, mind you. I know we had some new listeners that were confused as to how we hadn't heard certain songs from certain eras, and it's like, because this is a rediscovery show, and I had admitted from the very beginning that while I'm a huge fan of Van Halen, I was still ignorant of a lot of their catalog, mainly the stuff post Sammy Hagar, So obviously there was a lot of limitations there, and we knew that. That's why this show was born, so that we could rediscover and re-explore and find the new old new, you know what I mean? It just so don't get it twisted. We never once came right out the gate saying, hey, we are a couple of rock historians and Van Halen experts, and now we're going to talk about each song as if we have direct knowledge as to what their minds were going through at that time. No. That's why we bring people like Eric Sinich on, and like Darren Paltritz, who literally wrote books on this shit, okay? Or Greg Renoff, it's like those are the experts. Those are the guys you want to talk to if you want expertise. We are just two dudes that are just talking about a band that we like, and that's all it ever was. And all is ever it's all it ever is, and all it ever will be. There you go. To turn a phrase of the Hitman.
But my favorite story about something that Chris L told it on the last live show, Mark, if you remember, somebody when they were covering Kiss, Chris had mentioned on a show, I don't think I've ever heard this song before. And some guy in their comments is like, how can you host a Kiss podcast if you've never heard that song before? And Chris's response was, because I fucking want to. Like, who cares?
That's about right.
Yeah, because I wanted to.
That's a good Chris response. Yeah, because I wanted to. So, but we never claimed that we knew the catalog in and out, not once. So if you are just joining us, or if you're early in the journey and you're trying to figure out like, how did these guys, it was like, well, just stick with us, okay? It'll get better the further on you go on. And thank you for listening regardless, even if you listen to us purely for the reason of, I want to see how many things they say wrong, or how many things they get wrong about this particular subject that I know so much about. You can do that. We do not discriminate. We're just happy you listen, So shout out to our YouTube audience as well.
Hey, they've been pretty good. I accidentally catch a comment here or there, but they've been pretty good. The ad audience has been growing, even though we don't promote it at all. So for all you folks watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Yeah, I can't believe you found us because we're doing no work to get the show out there. But thank you. Hopefully you're digging it, and hopefully you'll stick with us when we finish Van Halen and get into the solo stuff.
Yeah. So the berth will widen in terms of the kind of music that we talk about. Some of it will have no expertise whatsoever, kind of like this show. Well, I mean, with this show, at least we know some songs. There are going to be times where in the new era of the show, we're going to be listening to stuff that we just are not familiar with whatsoever. So it will be fresh listens. So if you're into that and you want to know, how we perceive certain things, you are definitely going to want to stay tuned, stay with us as the journey unfolds in the new era. Corey, that'll do it. What do you say we take ourselves out of here? I want to go ahead and I'll just go ahead and list off our awesome patrons, because we tell you guys every week to join the Patreon, because that is where you get the most out of if you get any enjoyment out of doing or listening to the stuff that we do. You want to join the Patreon. Any tier that you find will work for you. The biggest draw is a link to the Discord, where the conversations are always happening with all the patrons. It's where the more interesting conversations are happening. Plus, you get to go into a channel and leave your own little mini manifestos about each track we discuss. You get the manifestations. It's all there. It'll still be there. Even though this particular phase of the show is ending, doesn't mean that the format is ending. So, definitely want to join the Patreon just for that. So do that. And you can join other like-minded folks on our patrons like Matt Lacoste, Nate from the Deep Purple Podcast, Rava Flav, Josh Caldwell, Greg Zito, Michael Griffith, Chaz Charles, Sean McGinnity, happy belated birthday, Chaz, Kevin Brown, Per Leneker, Scott Monroe, Ryan Powell, Jeff Brewer, Tom Armbruster, Scott Everett, Heath McCoy, Janice Risco, Brad Gould, Davey Lee Smith, Chad Pollock, Brett Parker from Dissect That Film, Jeff Fisher, Scott Haskin, John Drake, Connor Burton, Rabbi Yved Bana, Jay Steyer, and Dan Papathopoulos.
Attaboy.
Danny Paps. Yeah, there we go.
Old Danny Paps.
That's gonna be my nickname for you, unless you hate it. It's like, don't call me Danny Paps. It's like, all right, Papathopoulos. I'll nail it one of these days. Trust me.
Best last name in the Discord by far.
It really is. So go on to patreon.com/podcastwillrock. Find it there. Go to podcastwillrock.com. A link to all of our social medias are there. All the backlog episodes. A link to our merch store. Get you some merch. Get you a tank top with some apologies to Gary on it, just because that would just make me laugh. It would be awesome. Keep the joke going. Eventually, he can't ignore us forever. He'll be like, all right, what do you guys want to talk about? And that would be so cool. So do that for me. And Corey, we are not alone in our venture in the podcasting realm, talking about rock bands that we love. There are others, a part of the Deep Dive Podcasting Network, that do the same. What kind of podcasts could people find at the Deep Dive Podcasting Network?
All right, yes. We got some fantastic podcasts out there for you, folks, including the Ultimate Catalog Clash featuring myself and Kevin Brown. This season, we're breaking down the first 20 years of the Foo Fighters. Side B of the electric side of In Your Honor was the show we dropped this week. We're getting ready to get into the acoustic stuff here right away, so check out that show. And then Kevin Brown does the Tom Petty Project, currently breaking down Wildflowers, a small independent record from one Mr. Tom Petty that did pretty well for him. Then Kevin does a show with his buddy Randy Woods called Seaside Pod Review. Then we have the sexiest man in podcasting, Scott Haskin, does a little show called Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast, and the Haskin Cast. You should check out both those shows wherever you get your podcast from. Then we have Nate and John at the Deep Purple Podcast, The Simple Man at Skinner Reconsidered. Terry T-Bone Mathley is back doing T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side. Then we have Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast, Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods, Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge, Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z, Daniel and Josh at Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Aussie Podcast, Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Podcast, George and Hattie at the Judas Priest Cast. I believe that one is coming back, so check that out. They just announced some new tour dates. Judas Priest did. Nowhere near my neck of the woods, unfortunately, but hopefully someday they'll make their way to Saskatchewan again. Then we have Clay and Rye at North by South Podcast, Greg and Jonathan at So Far, So Pot, So What, Quinn at Volume for All, Sav, Nick, Steve, and Mark at the Rock Roulette Podcast, Chaz and Greg at Regarding Lulu, Chaz and Shats at Rush Rash, Chaz and Wolfie at Regarding Roger, that's for Roger Waters, Chaz and Scott and Wolfie again, I believe, at Regarding Van Halen 3, kicking off next weekend. As we wind down Van Halen 3, they're ramping it up. You'll have to check that out live next Friday night. Then we have the Rewinds 1984 podcast, the Sean Geek and Fast Fred podcast, the DLR cast, the Bogus Otis show, Booked on Rock with the legendary Eric Senich, You're All Doomed, a Friday the 13th podcast, Spinning the Wheel podcast, Dissect That Film, Three's Company Tour Rewatch podcast, the Nerf Herder Council, Talking Into Infinity, and, of course, Pod of Thunder, the recognized symbol of excellence in rock and roll podcasting.
Hell yeah. You will not be bored. You will not run out of material listening to that whole list, or even just half of that list for sure. But check it all out. Good stuff all around. And we are greatly appreciative to be a part of it and to be a part of your world, your listening podcasting world. If you guys are keeping the streams up, the ratings up, we appreciate it, man. It's always good. And don't stop there. Keep sharing, keep rating, keep telling people, hey, if you like Van Halen, you might like these couple of schmoes talking about it, because they're enthusiastic. I like to think we're enthusiastic about talking about Van Halen. Otherwise, why would we keep doing it? Why would we keep going till we've down to the final two? Corey, two.
Double A,
Look at that wheel.
Aftershock, and Atomic Punk are the last two songs
That's
on the
right.
wheel. Scott pointed it out. That's a strong Double A finish.
It is, and it is the head-to-head collision everyone's been waiting for. It's this Sammy versus Dave once again, one more time. Oh man, I don't know what to expect. I just know that I'm appreciative of the journey, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next coming weeks, man. All I can predict is probably a lot of mayhem, a lot of laughs, but a hell of a lot of fun. So please, if you haven't, join us. Keep up with us. Keep going on the journey with us. We're not done quite yet. So with that being said, on behalf of Corey and myself and everyone involved, we are, and the podcast will rock, and we will rock you later.